Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of Protecting the Vision, sponsored by the National Optometric Foundation. My name is Dr. Timothy Brown, the treasurer for the National Optometric Foundation, and I'm excited about who we are and the things that we continue to do to impact lives all across the US of A and more. Today, I'm going to have a great guest speaker on the webinar talking with us, and she's going to be talking about myopia management. So stay tuned to learn more about myopia, what it is, and how it can be managed. Maybe this is a conversation piece for you and your doctor. So before I do, I'm going to just talk a little bit about who we are as the National Optometric Foundation. We are the financial arm for the National Optometric Association. We are a nonprofit organization. Our president, Dr. Andre Whitehead, is leading the way as we continue to support the NOA in various ways, supporting them when we go to their annual convention. This year it's going to be in Philadelphia, July the 11th through the 14th. Downtown at the Marriott, we're going to have the convention. So if you are a doctor, go ahead and register on the National Optometric Association website so that you can attend and be a part of an awesome convention. Every year, it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to being with my brothers and sisters in the city of brotherly love in July. We also support the NOA by giving scholarships to our students who are thinking about going to optometry school, who are currently in optometry school. We also have a student organization, the National Optometric Student Association, NOSA, and we try to support them, those who are trying to get to the convention. We are there to help assist them, but we're not able to do this without our generous donors, people who are supporting us, giving financial support to allow us to be able to do these great things. Thank you all so much for doing that. Thank you so much for donating over the years. And we also thank our community leaders, because there are times when we have grants and we're able to bless the community financially, and our leaders take charge and making sure that they're educated and providing for their community as well in different area codes around the US of A. So thank you so much for doing that. If you would like to help us or you like to learn more about us, you can go on our website. We have a website, nationaloptometricfoundation.com, that you can go on, see who our officers are, see some of our photos from previous events. We also have a Facebook page under the same name, National Optometric Foundation. And we also have a YouTube channel. Our previous webinars are posted on the YouTube channel. You can share those with your family, friends, your church, to help us get this information out to the public. It is free educational information, and our doctors are volunteering their time to share this information with the listening audience. So thank you all so much. And also, if you would like to contribute and allow us to continue to do the great things that we're doing in the community, we have a Cash App. You can donate today, and you can write it off on your taxes there. It's called $Protecting the Vision. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Protecting the Vision, another episode here with our great doctor who's going to be sharing tonight on myopia management. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the NOF and the NOA as we go along into the program. So tonight, as I said, we were talking about the topic myopia management. And some of you are probably saying, what is myopia? I can barely say the word. You'll find out soon, so stay tuned. Get your favorite drink, get you some popcorn, and listen in, because we got Dr. Dana Shannon, who is an optometrist. She practices at Clarendon Vision Development Center in Westmont, Illinois. When she's there, she's providing comprehensive eye exams, eye care, contact lens fittings. She specializes in ocular disease management and myopia management. Dr. Shannon earned her Doctor of Optometry degree at the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Optometry and completed her residency in ocular disease at the University of Chicago. She is a fellow of the American Academy of Optometry. She is a member of the American Academy of Orthokeratology and Myopia Control. She proudly serves as the regional trustee for the National Optometric Association. She currently lives in Chicago, Illinois, and outside of their clinic time, she enjoys weightlifting, tennis, and spending time with her family and friends. She also enjoys participating in medical mission trips to provide vision care in developing countries. My goodness, this lady is busy. There was a time where she was one of my mentees when I was working with a corporation, and I enjoyed my time being there to support her as a student when she was in school, and now she's an optometrist. So let's welcome her to the show, Dr. Dana Shannon. I'm so excited to have you on the show to share with our listening audience, and I really appreciate you for taking your time to share your knowledge and your wisdom tonight. Welcome to the show.
Well, Dr. Brown, thank you so much for the warm introduction and the warm welcome. And thank you to the National Optometric Foundation for allowing me to present on this topic and to discuss and educate our audience on myopia management. So this is super exciting. I love this topic. I'm very passionate about it. This is what we do. This is what I do day in and day out. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's almost like we need to also include something about how to deal with all this pollen that's going around because we are almost on the verge of the first day of spring. Spring is coming in tomorrow, and it's like so much pollen. People are coming in the office just talking about, oh, I'm tearing, I'm sneezing, so but we'll save that for a different topic there. You guys just try to keep yourself, take your meds that you have for your allergies because tonight we're going to focus on myopia management. And Doc, I just got to say, somebody listening tonight, or they may be listening to this webinar later, they have no idea what is myopia, and they're asking that question. So I know you're ready to break it down for us and tell us exactly what is myopia.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that when we use that term, we don't realize how common this condition is. And the actual, like, more day-to-day term for myopia is nearsightedness. So that is exactly what we use when we are explaining myopia to our patients. We say, hey, nearsightedness. Nearsightedness is that condition where our vision is blurred at a distance, like whether we're able to see things up close a little bit clearer, but also having blurred vision at a distance. So that's more of the symptomatic definition of myopia. As optometrists, we know that there is more to that definition. It's actually a side effect of a condition, of the underlying condition where the eye is growing too long. So when I have a patient coming into the clinic, a parent's bringing them in for the first time, maybe they're just here for a standard exam because they're noticing that their child is squinting a little bit, or maybe they're having to stand a little bit closer to the board. I'm performing the exam. We're checking the health of the eyes. We're determining their refractive error, checking what their glasses prescription may be. We determine that they're nearsighted, but we're also measuring the length of the eye. And oftentimes we find that that length is longer than normal, that's longer than expected for that child's age. That helps us really piece everything together and explain to the parent that your child does indeed have myopia.
Wow, that's incredible because, we had a lot of children that we saw today, and actually, they were saying things similar to what you said. I'm having trouble copying and then looking at the board and being able to see the board clearly, so we are having that complaint where I can't see at the distance. We had a couple of kids saying that today as well. And so they come into your office and you have to sit them, I guess with their parents and tell them, this is what you have, and this is how it's affecting your eyesight. That's kind of how you guys go through your flow when a patient comes in.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So,
Yeah.
one thing is to emphasize that myopia is an overgrowth of the eye. So, our through childhood, from when we're born to once we're, 21, 22, 23, we're more at our adult age. When we're born, our eye is about the diameter of a dime. So that's about 16 millimeters. As we develop, as we get to, walking age, we're starting to read, and so on and so forth. Eventually by adult age, the length of our eye is about the diameter of a quarter. So our eye is supposed to grow. That's totally normal. Just like our arms, our legs, we're supposed to we're supposed to grow. But overgrowth is when we have myopia is when there's actually a disease, and that side effect is that blurred vision. And so that's what we catch in our clinic so often. And there are so many patients. I think our audience out there could think about it like, they either you have myopia where you're wearing glasses because things are blurry far away, or maybe you have a family member or a friend. I think all of us, it's such a common condition. All of us know at least one person that has it.
Absolutely. You know that one person that when they put on their glasses or they put their contacts in, the world looks so much better, clearer for them. You know that one person.
Yeah.
And we also, it's good that you're given some things that they can compare it to. When you're born, the eye is about the size of a dime, and then as it grows, it turns into about the size of a quarter. Those are good pointers for people because they have no idea, when it comes to the size. If they're not in this field, like yourself and me, that's good to let them know that. And then I'm so glad that your clinic exists because a lot of clinics are not focusing on pediatric eye care, so a
Yes.
lot of children don't get that, one-on-one, the attention that they need from their optometrist when they go in to see them, which makes me wonder, how common is myopia for children? And are there signs or things that parents can watch out for when it comes to that?
Absolutely. So to answer your second question, I'll start with that is myopia. Our parents, like the simple things that we can notice at home. If your child is complaining of a lot of headaches, maybe they're squinting their eyes throughout the day to help them focus the image because things are blurry for them. Maybe the child is kind of maybe avoiding seeing things far away. Maybe their world, everything they focus in on is up close. So maybe they're bringing their tablet or a book or everything a little bit closer to their face than they should. Maybe they're sitting a little bit closer to the TV. Even at school, sometimes the teachers are able to pick up on a student's having difficulty seeing far away. So maybe they'll ask them to sit a little bit closer. As a personal anecdote, I was diagnosed with myopia when I was in first grade. So very, very, very early in life. And it wasn't until my teacher mentioned it to my parents that they recognized that it was an issue. So one part is sometimes it's difficult to recognize when a patient has myopia, especially when they're little, because they don't know anything different. This is their world. That is how they've always seen. And it's not until they have an exam or until maybe a teacher reaches out that we recognize the issue, because a lot of parents may say, my child didn't tell me that they can't see well. Why didn't they ever tell me? Well, this is their norm. They don't know anything different. And so that's why it's so important for us to bring our children in even before those school forms are required. So I know that that's required for when they enter, they enter into the school system, but we see patients as young as 6 months at our clinic, and that's not very common, but we recommend, at least the American Optometrists Association recommends having our patients come in as early as 6 months. Then again, at 1 year or 2 years old, again, between 3 and 5, and annual after that, because our children's eyes, their system can change so much during that growth time. Now, to answer your first question, which is how common is myopia? Well, myopia, if we look back into the 1970s, maybe about 20% of the population, maybe a little bit less, had myopia. Well, here we are in 2024, and there was a study that reported back in 2019 that about 40% of patients now have myopia, or 40% of our population. And so that's a huge jump in that, relatively short amount of time. And the question is like, well, what's going on? So this jump isn't happening just here in the United States. This is happening globally. And what we're seeing is a myopia epidemic.
Wow, amazing, amazing. And I'm glad to hear that, you know, as myopia continue to, be present there, that you guys are available and you're seeing them as young as 6 months old, because that is rare. We have that same model, we'll see them as young as 6 months, and parents are surprised. We get a lot of referrals as well, from other offices where the doctor don't want to see them if they're not 12 and above, so I'm so glad that you all exist, and I'm so glad that you're catching this and helping them with that, because a lot of children are coming in complaining of headaches because they're using their ability and trying to keep things into focus. They're squinting,
Absolutely.
like you said. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and they're trying to help it by, like you said, standing closer to the TV or bringing the book closer to their face. A little boy said that today. I said, so what do you do when you want to see clear? He said, I just bring it closer to me,
Yeah, like because exactly like that makes things easier. Bring
Yeah,
if you're nearsighted, why wouldn't I just bring things closer? Duh, and everything's good after
right,
that. But we
right.
all
He's
recognize that
already,
that can be a major issue, especially as students are in school, So if I'm having to strain my eyes all day long just to see, maybe I'll be less engaged in my schoolwork. I'll be less interested, and maybe I will find other distractions to pass the time. So that can affect how your child performs in school. So myopia is not just, blurred vision. It affects us in so many different areas of life. Imagine if you have a athlete. So you have a child that's an athlete and they're trying to shoot the basketball or aim for the tennis ball, hit the tennis ball, and they're not able to track it well. They can't see well because things are blurry far away. So
right.
this is a condition that translates to so many different areas of our children's lives. And so it's why it's so important for us to identify it soon, early, because there are different ways for us to start slowing it down. But to kind of
Yeah,
even answer another question that kind of answer a question that I guess I kind of posed was like, well, what's happening? Why are we seeing this jump in myopia? Well,
yes,
one part of it is think about it, like we are living in this digital age now where kids are on their devices, tablets, they're spending so much more time indoors than they are outdoors. So I think about myself growing up, I there's so many different variables, and I think I can just to kind of break things up and explain the various variables that are creating this rise in myopia. Number one factor is this increased screen time that kids are having. I know that pre-COVID versus after COVID, we saw a huge jump in myopia rates. And that's because what were kids doing every day? They
yeah,
wake up and they go straight to
yes,
their devices for their school. And obviously COVID was a very difficult time, and we were all just figuring it out. But
right.
um, kids were spending so much more time on devices. And now, after COVID, we saw, wow, like all these kids, so many kids having myopia. And so
Yes.
that's one variable. Another factor is less outdoor time. I know growing up, we get home from school and maybe we would hang out with the kids in the neighborhood outside, and we get told to
Yeah.
come back in when the street lights get on.
Right.
But
Absolutely. Street lights come on, get back in the house.
exactly, exactly. So we were a little bit more free to roam, and I think the world has changed a lot. But especially kids now, they are coming home from school and they still interact with their friends, but they're interacting with their friends virtually, and that's how
Right.
they're
You're
passing the
absolutely
time.
right. Yes,
So
you're absolutely right. And whenever your child parents want to go outside and play basketball or ride their bikes, encourage them. Let them do
absolutely,
that. That's good. Let them be outside. That's what we did back in the day. I was just talking to someone today about, we played ball, we did kickball, all sorts of games outdoors, versus
absolutely.
being in front of the gadget there. You're absolutely right.
Yes. So definitely what I recommend for parents is to please encourage your kids to spend time outdoors. The vitamin D, it's actually a part of that process for dopamine to be created. It helps us feel great, but in several
Yes.
studies have demonstrated that dopamine supports with slowing the length of the eye, which helps slow myopia.
Wow.
So that's where all of that connects. All those connections are made. Is that time outdoors is so valuable, especially earlier on in life as we develop. Another factor is, genetics. Sometimes we can't be genetic sometimes. where you have your likelihood of developing myopia is much higher when you have two parents that are nearsighted. So if you have two parents that are nearsighted, you're already at a 50% chance of developing myopia yourself. So it's already pretty high
Yeah, I
opportunity.
love it. I love watching the parents when you tell them, okay, so let's break down, what your child has, going to the diagnosis now. And once you say it, they're like, yep, he get it from his daddy, or the daddy said, yep, he get it from mama.
Yeah, yeah. This happens all the time. All the time it happens, and it's so funny because they start making those connections and tracking the family line and who had what,
Yeah,
and blaming
yeah,
each other, but in a playful way. But I know several parents that sometimes hold a lot of guilt because they feel like, oh my goodness, like what did I do to my child? But I just think for the parents that are out there that have children that have myopia, don't feel bad. It's
yeah,
some things that we can't control, which are genetics. But now, as we're listening into this conversation,
yeah.
we're getting to the root of like, well, why is this happening? But we'll start talking further about what treatments we have available. So all hope isn't lost.
Right. Don't worry, folks. It's called myopia management. So we're in the first part of telling you what it is, and then she's going to move and tell you how we can manage myopia. So never fear. Dr. Shannon is here to share with you all this wisdom so that you can open up this conversation with your optometrist and make sure that you're having that one-on-one discussion with your optometrist there. It's important for you to be engaged and to ask questions when you take your child for their eye exam. We want you to ask us questions. We want to know what's on your mind, and we want to be able to answer those questions for you. So let this be, as she said, the initial step here. We're opening this conversation. More people need to know about this myopia, nearsightedness. What can we do? One of the things I think about is, what if it's never treated or managed? What happens then? I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that, Doc. If it's not treated, it's not managed. What can happen in the long term with myopia or nearsighted?
Absolutely, yes. I will talk about that because that's the whole the what if, what happens later, why is this important? That's a very important question, and that's something that we spend a lot of time on when we're talking to our parents about myopia management when we make the diagnosis for their children. Why should we care that the vision is blurry? Can't we just wear glasses and move on with our lives? Well, not necessarily, because as a child is developing, they're growing. We've talked about that before. If your eye is already at an overgrowth, what's happening in Nathan, if you can pull up slide number 10, what's happening is the eye is growing, the tissue in the back wall of the eye, as that eye is growing, that tissue is stretching and stretching and stretching. So if you think about an eye that's growing and stretching, the back wall of the eye, the retina, where it's super important for us for our visual health or overall eye health, that tissue is stretching and becoming weaker. As it's becoming weaker, we're becoming more susceptible to eye diseases. Which eye diseases are we more susceptible to? We're more susceptible to glaucoma. We're more susceptible to retinal detachments because we have a weak retina that can easily tear. We're at a higher risk of different maculopathies, and that means that the central part of our vision, because that retina is so stretched, it's starting to be thin and deteriorate. And that affects your central vision. Imagine putting a fist in front of your face and trying to look around. Whatever you try to look at centrally, if you try to read, if you look at someone's face, all of that could be blurred from that retina being too thin. And lastly, we're at a higher risk of developing cataracts much sooner in life. So when we look at that, the higher the prescription, the higher the risk. And it doesn't jump just linearly, it jumps exponentially the higher that prescription and the longer the eye is. So that's why we're trying to fight off vision impairment later in life. We want our patients to be able to live happy, functional, beautiful lives where they're able to see the world around them until the day that they pass on. So if your prescription's jumping at a young age and that tissue, that retina is stretching, and then eventually you have a detachment, or you develop glaucoma, or you develop thinning in the eye that causes vision impairment, that's devastating. And so if we can protect our children now from having that issue in the future, why wouldn't we? So this is the point that I try to drive home with parents when they come in and we diagnose myopia.
Very good. Very good. I don't know if Nate was able to get that slide that you want to show there with him, but you're absolutely right. As that eyeball continues to lengthen, it put you at risk of so many different things there that you just outlined for us there. And a lot of people don't realize that as well, you know. So it's important, guys. It's not just about getting glasses and getting contacts, you know, and then out the door, but there's more behind the diagnosis that you receive from your optometrist there. So we're trying to break some things down for you and tell you that you have some options, and also to educate you on what those options are, and you know what it means when your doctor says, "Hey, you have myopia," or your child has nearsightedness. And you can have that conversation with your doctor. You know, you say, "Hey, I'm not the expert, but you know, I was on a webinar and Dr. Shannon said this. What's your take on that?" You know, open that conversation up with your doctor, your optometrist there. You know, and they'll be open and they'll give you some feedback based on your questions that you asked there as well. So that's really
Absolutely.
good there. Uh, Now, many times, you know, people hear the terms and they're wondering what's next, you know, and in my mind, for our topic tonight, what's next is just talking about some of the management. Can it be managed? And, you know, the benefits from that as well, and how effective this management of myopia is. If you can talk with a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Now, this is the fun part. This is the fun part because we can really dive into, we can put our superhero, outfits on and really become the support for our patients on another level. We support them in so many ways, but especially with our young patients. There are three main treatments that are available here in the United States. There is another one that's available outside of the United States, and hopefully eventually in the US, but I'll talk about the three main treatments that we have available here, just in specific categories, not specific products. We have the first treatment that's one that I reach for very, very often, and that's called orthokeratology, or Ortho-K for short. So Ortho-K is, I like to describe it as like overnight sight, where a patient puts in a specialty contact lens at night and they sleep in the lens. And when they wake up, they remove that lens and they have clear, beautiful vision throughout the day without the need of a contact lens or glasses. So when I tell patients this, some of them are like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. This is so cool." I have like, they're like, I, especially with my little ones that are involved in soccer or swimming, and there is no way that they can wear glasses while they're performing these sports, or at least not wear glasses. So when I introduce this opportunity to parents, they are absolutely in love with the idea. A few of the questions they may ask is, well, is it okay for my child to put in a contact lens? Is it safe? It's absolutely safe. And the biggest part of this is making sure that we are training our patients and the parents, and making sure both of them are involved in the process through and through, to make sure that the lenses are disinfected well, to make sure that the lenses are put in adequately. And we see them very frequently to make sure that the process is going as smoothly as possible. And They absolutely love it. The kids absolutely love this. So orthokeratology, Ortho-K is one of our options. The next option is a soft multifocal contact lens. So it functions just like a regular contact lens. So those contact lens wearers out there, you know that you open up the package, you put the lenses in, you wear them throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, we take them out and we throw them away. With our kiddos, we always recommend a daily disposable. We don't like to reach for the monthly lenses like some patients who would take the contacts out and put them in a case. For our kiddos, we want to make sure that they have the most hygienic environment, most hygienic lenses possible. So these are not your regular everyday contact lenses. They correct the vision, they see clearly with them, but they also help with slowing the progression of myopia as well. So that's why they're wearing them throughout the day and then they take them out at night. The last treatment option that we reach for is atropine. So atropine is a drop that's been around for centuries. So it's very well studied. What we know about atropine is that it helps with strengthening the outer wall of the eye to help with helps resist the extra lengthening of the eye. So atropine typically is a drop that's used to somewhat dilate the eyes, but this does not do it in the way that we are accustomed to. This drop, we just use it at bedtime, and the child is able to wear their glasses or contacts or whatever they want to do. It's very, very simple, just one drop in each eye. It's a very, very low dosage of the typical form of atropine that we have. And it's you get it from a compounding pharmacy. So we have to order these specially made. We can't just get them from off the shelf. We can't just get them from the typical pharmacy. And this is a great option for those little ones who we just know are going to have a hard time putting contacts in. So we know, like, if even as young as 4, if we need about 4 to 7 years old is where I'll reach for the atropine. So those are our primary options as far as efficacy. And I'm sorry, I am moving around right now just because my laptop, I have to put it on the charger. As far as efficacy, we're seeing anywhere between 60 to 80% efficacy. And sometimes it's a little bit, sometimes it's more in patients, and sometimes it's a little less, and we have to change up the treatment options that we are going with. Sometimes we have to do both 2 treatments at one time. But, sorry, there we go. But as far as efficacy, we're seeing about 60 to 80% slowing of myopia. So even if we say 50%, that's still excellent. So if your child is a -2 right now, so $2 worth of myopia, if they're expected to be, maybe a -6 later on in life, if we can get 50% slowing, maybe they'll only be a -3, which makes a huge difference as far as quality of life. Being able to sit in your bed and look at your phone without having to have your glasses on, or sit in your bed and read a book, it makes a big difference. I know that I can't do that because I didn't have myopia management growing up, but it makes a difference in your quality of life and also your candidacy for refractive surgery like LASIK or something like that later in life. So it makes a huge impact.
That's incredible. As you're talking about that is a huge difference. And going in the direction of being a -6 and managing that while you're at a -2 and possibly stopping it, and you only go to like a -3. That's incredible. That is life changing right there for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I thought about it, but that will keep them in a good range, if they decide they want to do LASIK, as well. So that's something else to talk to people about. So we don't do Ortho-K, myopia management at our office, but we have a sister office that we partner with that we will refer out to if that's an option for a patient, and we have done that. And then he, in return, will send them to us because we specialize in vision therapy. at the office there as well, or just children in general. He really won't see children unless they're 12 or older. Like I said, there are some doctors just like that. So he'll refer children to us, and then we'll send, glaucoma workups and things like that to him. So doctors, if you're not doing that, I say that to say this: if you're not doing myopia management, you can partner with someone like Dr. Shannon who may be doing it, and you can refer out to her. So there's nothing wrong with referring out. We network, we work together, and what's the best interest for the patient. So don't allow a child to continue to progress, their myopia progressing when they can have other options there. So sometimes we have these webinars and we think about people who are patients, but now I'm thinking also, doctors, you can benefit from this as well. If you're watching this webinar, knowing that it's okay to refer out, let Dr. Shannon take care of these patients and then send them back to you when she's done with the treatment there, with the management for myopia, because this is great. And the child can benefit from it. And it's a great thing for them not to have to deal with a -6 prescription, if they could stay at a -3. So really good. My sister-in-law, oh man, she's gonna kill me for doing this. She's a -9.
Oh, wow.
So she's a -9. So if many of you think that your prescription is bad and you might be a -5 or 4, okay? My sister-in-law is a -9, okay? I'm sorry. I still love you. I'm not going to say your name, but I just want people to know that, there are people with higher prescriptions than, a -4 or -5. So just take that into consideration there, So thank you for putting that out there. That's really good.
I think it's so funny. I have patients that will come in and they're like, oh my gosh, my prescription's so bad. Like I can't see anything. And like, they're like a -75, -1. And I know that our audience out there may not understand with these numbers that we're throwing out here, but like, imagine, being just a little bit blurry, but you're able to, see down the hall at your house versus someone that's a -9 who's 9 times as blurry as you. They can't see anything past this close to their face. So just imagine that. And so, and I guess I'll say, just to make your family member not feel as bad, I am a -12. So
look at that. See what I'm talking about?
So that's why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I know how much myopia has impacted my life and my day-to-day processes. And if I can do anything to help another child not have to go through the things that I go through personally, or, have the risks that I currently have, that I'm managed and monitored every year to the appropriate doctors. But, if we can do anything to help the next generation of kids, because with the knowledge and the tools that we have, why wouldn't we? So that is why I'm so passionate about this topic, because it impacts me, it impacts my sister, my dad, so many of us in our family.
Wow. And that's what makes it enjoyable. You go to work knowing that you're going to be able to help someone, not have to, go through what you may have, what you had to go through. So that's also good. Anything that you do in life, as long as there's passion with it, you'll have a great time every day. You'll enjoy waking up, going to work, and doing what you're doing, knowing that you're impacting lives there. Now, I noticed when you gave the 3 options there, the multifocal soft contact lens, ortho-K, and atropine, you say you're usually around age 3 to 7. Is that where myopia management starts? Is that a good age where people can start thinking about managing myopia? I just didn't know if there was an age range that you would recommend.
So I think it really, I will see pretty much any case that has it. So I think my youngest patient that I'm managing right now is 3. So
okay.
It does develop very early in life, and that's a more extreme case. But we often, when a patient comes in, if they're 1 year old and they have some kind of strange prescription, maybe nothing super extreme, sometimes based on how high it is, based on how reliable we feel like we get answers from that 1-year-old in that visit, or how confident we are in our measurements, we'll either will decide whether how closely we want to follow. So maybe things are looking good at 1 year old. We'll see them back in a year. And then we start to see a little bit of a change, but they're still doing okay. We see them back the next year and there's a huge jump. Okay, maybe we're going to go ahead and start treatment, or maybe it's us starting treatment a little bit sooner. But I think for the most part, I don't often find that we need to start any sooner than 3 or 4 years old. And most cases aren't really developing until around that 6, 7, 8, 9 age range, if they're going to develop it, if they're an early start. Some kids develop it later, and it's actually better to develop it later. So if you're developing myopia around 12 or 13, we know that your chances of your prescription jumping or changing very quickly is lower. But at those 6, 7, and 8 year olds that are starting to develop it, that's when we have to really be aggressive as far as just getting that treatment started, because that's the age range where they jump very, very quickly and very fast. So as far as like that treatment timeline, the youngest as I feel appropriate is probably around 3, maybe 4. But there are those extreme cases out there. But most of my cases, I'm seeing them usually around like that school age, and that's when the parents are bringing them in for those school exams, and we're finding out that they have the myopia.
And I know some of the listeners might be saying, wow, really? 3, 4? But guys, you would be surprised at some of the 4-year-olds that walk into the office. These are some very smart children. I did some binocular testing on some children today. Usually we'll do it at age 6, but these little wizards that came in today that was 5, I did the testing on them and they aced that thing. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm going to give it a try, based on, I kind of pick off, kind of where they are based on talking with them when they initially come in and watching them as they're in the office there. And we have some outstanding 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds that's coming into the office. Actually, some that's better than the 10-year-olds and the 12-year-olds, really, especially when it comes to checking their pressure, so they do extremely well. So glad that you cleared that up. So I want to think like a parent and just say, hey, what are the risks? Are there any risks involved that we should be aware of? And then maybe after we talk about the risk, if it's minimum, how can I best support my child and best support this process that my child is going to go through while you're helping to manage their myopia, Doc?
Absolutely. That's a conversation that we're very transparent about, and we're very, very thorough with our parents about as far as risks. In any situation where we're putting a contact lens or any type of foreign object in our eyes, there is some level of an infection, but we try to minimize that as much as possible by how often we see our patients, the steps that we go through, and the efforts that we go through in their training. So
Right.
we, especially for our ortho K patients, we train them and we make sure that they're not leaving our office unless they know how to take that lens in and out.
There you go.
And we also see them back within 1 or 2 days after their visit when they first learn how to put the lenses in, just to make sure that everything went okay. We can reinforce the steps. I know I have parents that, I'm so happy that we see back at 2 days and 1 week, because there's maybe a mix up in which drop we want to put in the morning or in the evening. And so it's always an opportunity to reinforce. We see the patients back again at a month. We see these patients very frequently. If they need us, we're here. We give them our phone numbers on call if they need to speak to us for an emergency, which we have not, thank God, have not had a parent give me a call yet in the middle of the night. And I think that speaks to how well we train and how we educate our parents. But we disclose that, and we make sure they're using the proper disinfectants to make sure everything is cleanly. And we encourage the parents to be involved in the process, especially for the little ones. I had little 8-year old today, and mom is helping with holding her eyelids out the way so she can put her contact lens on by herself, and she's doing great. But as long as the parents are willing to be a part of the process, that's super, super important, because we're not letting our little ones do this alone, and we're here as a team. We're a village. We're all here to support them. And I think the other part of your question, can you repeat that second part of your question? I know you asked about. Yeah.
It was just talking about how the parent can come in and be supportive throughout the process
Oh,
as
yeah.
they're going through that. Yes.
Yes. So that's the biggest thing, is we want the parents and the child to know every single step. And I think it's a beautiful process seeing them work together, because the child gets an opportunity to gain some level of independence. I think children are always looking for a way to become independent and be like, I did this on my own. And they take pride
Yeah.
in being able to put their contact lenses in by themselves. And we give them little toys and little awards for when they do the trainings,
I love
and
it.
just give that positive reinforcement. And the parents, they love to see their child just take on this responsibility, and they're excelling at it. So
Yeah.
it's just a really cool process to see the parents and them bonding and seeing that growth.
Right. There's nothing better than seeing all of us taking a part and helping that child succeed. I often tell them when I'm involved with the INR, the insertion and removal of contacts there, and I'm training. I'm like, look, you can do this. I have 100% passing rate as long as you don't give up. So building their confidence. Parents, that's what you need to do. Let them know that they can do it, they can get through it, and that you're there to support them along the way there. Those are the things that help us. It's going to help the child, and it's going to help your relationship with the child there as well. It's always good to see a child come back in and they say, thank you so much, for giving me that initial instructions, and those steps and support. And now they can put their contact lens in. Doesn't take a long time, and they're off to school there. So you're absolutely right. It takes a team, and we don't let them leave unless they can put them in and take them out as well there too. That's important. We want to make sure that we're reducing the chance of infection, into the eye there. And we're trying to encourage children, especially they're playing sports, to do the dailies, put them in that day and then throw them away. It's for hygiene purposes. It's the best way to go that we've seen.
We
With the
can, I mean,
children.
even if there have been studies that have been performed on children that are contact lens wearers and their risk of developing infection, and it's no different than with an adult. It's more, maybe they take more time to put their contact lenses in, but over time they become pros at it. They get used to it. But
Yes.
as far as their risk of infection, it's no difference from them
Right.
and adults. And even I think that my kids, because they want so bad to do things right, they are even overly obsessive with the steps than some of my adult contact lens patients that do things that they shouldn't do. So
Yep.
I feel like they take a lot of pride in that, having that extra step and being able to be independent. And really, we're looking at a 1 in 5,000 chance of developing an infection when you're following all the protocols.
So that's good, and you've talked about myopia, what it is. You've talked about managing myopia. You've given your options for managing it. You talked about the risk that's potentially involved when it comes to some of the management that we're doing there. You talked about how parents can be supportive as well. Let's talk about a little bit as we're wrapping this up. Let's talk about long-term benefits once we're managing myopia. What are some things that they can look forward to, some things that they can be grateful for, the benefits of managing myopia there?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's one of those things that when you start the treatment, because the future is not tangible, it's hard to think that far ahead. But as we start to see, I know I've adopted some of the patients from the doctor that's the founder of our clinic here. And as we see some of them that are in their mid to late 20s, they're starting to, they kept going. Some of them, like even past like adolescence, and I'm saying even maybe they started myopia management at the age of 12, 13, and here they are coming in at the age of 26. And no one ever told them that they had to keep going, but they just like the lifestyle of the ortho K, especially, so much that they kept going. And some of them now are like, oh, I think I want to get LASIK, or I want to have another option. And we're washing them out, meaning that they stopped the lenses. We're just kind of following up visit after visit as things kind of regress back to their original baseline. And I have a patient that started in ortho K, and this was back in 2014, and he was a -6. To this day, he's still a -6 after we stopped the ortho K. So, I mean, imagine, like, this is incredible, right? So these patients that at that younger age, they should have been still progressing. We started treatment. He hasn't budged. And it's like baffling to me. It's almost like magic, but it's so hard to believe, but it's so effective. It's so, and he's so appreciative, because he knows that had he not had the treatment, we are able to we can use different calculators to estimate where someone would have been. He would have been a -10. He would have been the person that can't see past here. But even though he's still a little bit blurry, at least that prescription isn't much higher. I look at the health of the eyes. He doesn't have any detachments, no risk of glaucoma. So we can really make a difference in that way. And he's still a good candidate for the LASIK procedure that he wants to pursue later in life.
That's good. That's good news there. So the benefits are there for them. The opportunity is there for you, so that, that's incredible that he was still at a -6 all those years there.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Are there is there any information that maybe I didn't ask about or we didn't cover that you would just like to throw in to add in with the audience there? You have, some time if you want to do that. You got a couple of minutes. If there's a slide that you thought would be beneficial to go along with this presentation, I think you've done an excellent job. I mean, you've given us an overall view of what it is and how the management goes and the benefits of it, the risks involved. I appreciate that, but maybe there was something else that you wanted to share with our audience tonight.
Okay, well, if you can pull up slide number 28 from the deck. But while we're waiting for that, I just want to go back to a comment you made about co-management, or referring to your fellow optometry colleagues. I think a lot of us not a lot of us, but there are some of us in the optometric community that are hesitant to refer their patients out because they feel maybe they'll lose a patient. Well, making sure that whoever you're referring out to, just making sure that you have that relationship and they have the understanding that this patient is going back to where we referred. There are so many patients that we see under our myopia management program that we co-manage with other providers. We make sure we emphasize, we're seeing you for this, but your other optometrist is managing and seeing you for your annual exams. So that's super important, because although we feel comfortable referring to other ophthalmologists for other conditions, there are so many of our colleagues that practice that have various specialties: vision therapy, even dry eye disease management, ocular disease, like, glaucoma management, various different conditions that our fellow optometrists are amazing at, so talented, so intelligent. And we want to always give our best for our patients and create the best opportunities for them. So don't fear co-management, welcome it, and create a good system within your practice and with the other practice to make sure that you're both able to continue to co-manage your patients. I think, and then now that this slide is pulled up, I just wanted to leave our audience with some actionable items. We want to make sure our kids get exams every single year to make sure that their eyes are developing as healthy and as normal as possible. So that's where it allows us to detect any binocular vision or eye alignment, eye teaming problems, but in addition to myopia or astigmatism or any other refractive error out there that could be holding your child back from performing in school or sports or whatever activities they pursue. So that's important. The other factor is let's get our kids back outside.
Yeah, outside.
So
My son
now
was
that
just outside playing basketball. So yes, let them go
yes,
outside.
yes, and I live here in Chicago, and it is 27 degrees outside right now. So I get it. It's much more difficult for us in the north, but in those summer, spring, light fall months, we try to take advantage of that daytime. Try to take advantage of just being out, spending time outdoors, and I recommend that 90 minutes or more a day. And lastly, just trying to limit that screen time. So the limiting the screen time is one of the hardest things for my parents when they're talking to their children about it. It's like, okay, cool, I'll use these contact lenses or I'll put these drops in, but my screen time, you want me to cut that back? And it's like the worst thing ever. Like they hate it.
Well, you know why?
it.
Some parents say screen time is their quiet time, so it's bad, but that's the reason why some parents don't do that. It's like you're throwing out fighting words then. But I've also had parents who have told me their child have 1 hour of screen time. They limit them to 1 hour, and then they encourage them to do some open book time, reading stories together. So
Yeah, or creative projects or building
right.
something, interacting with, other people in the household or learning some other skill that doesn't require them to be looking at this emitted light lit up screen for hours on. They already spend a lot of time on devices at school. I know a lot of my patients do. So then when they get home to spend another 4 hours, this is why a lot of these children are starting to develop dry eye. Some of them are even getting a lot of eye strain and headache just from how much screen time. So really, if your child is not even in the school age yet, I even say if you can get zero screen time, I know that's unreasonable a lot, but if it's just 1 hour or less, like let's try for that. And I don't have any children myself, but I do have a lot of little cousins all over. And so I speak with their parents about it as well. And I understand and I see how difficult it is to limit that screen time. But if you can even negotiate cutting it by half, that's progress.
Yep. Some progress is better than none at all. So don't kick it, don't kick against it, parents. You just take it in increments and do rewards. Children like to be rewarded. They like to be recognized. Like Dr. Shannon said that they do in their office, they give them, prizes and things of that sort. Try it, before you have any doubts and fears there. Sometimes it end up working out good. You can also encourage them to write a letter to grandma and mail it off there. Grandma would love to receive a letter in the mail from their favorite grandchild. So that's another idea that you can incorporate there as well. So let's continue to work with your optometrist and continue to build relationships with your optometrist as we're trying to help you manage myopia. That's what the topic was tonight, manage myopia. And Dr. Shannon, I'm going to just check really quick to see if we have any questions here. Thank you, Dr. Boone. Dr. Boone said, outstanding presentation, Dr. Shannon there, knowledgeable and professional. She really appreciate you for presenting tonight. So
I really appreciate Dr. Boone. She's one of my mentors.
Look at that. Look at that. Dr. Boone is a very, very kind lady, and I get the opportunity to work with her as part of the National Optometry Foundation board members there as well. So we enjoy having her. Now, as we close out this session here, I want to say again, thank you for being on here and sharing with us tonight. Are there any parting words that you have for our listening audience? Maybe someone want to come see you, someone want to follow you and learn more from you. Even if they're not watching tonight, they may catch this webinar on YouTube later. What would those words be?
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for your attention tonight. I hope that you've been able to take some of this information and can start spreading it to family members, friends, your patients, if you're an optometrist or another provider out there. Also, just I hope that you can apply some of these lessons in your own life, maybe spending more time outdoors yourself or cutting down screen time. I know even as adults, we can benefit from that. So if you want to find me, if you don't live in the Chicagoland area, you can follow me on Instagram at afro.optometrist. So that's where I'm the most active as far as social media. If you would love to come in and be one of my patients, I would love to have you. And I'm here at Clarendon Vision Development Center in Westmont, Illinois. So if you can come and find me, that would be wonderful. I'd love to have you as a patient.
And thank you again. And as she said, parents, you too can use some outdoor exposure. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. I want to encourage you guys to get out, take a nice walk in the park or along the river. If it's too cold, find somewhere indoor where you can go and take a walk as we celebrate this first day of spring tomorrow. And as we're trying to encourage our children to get out more and do less screen time. So thank you again, Dr. Shannon, for sharing with us on myopia management. I really do appreciate you, and we hope to be able to invite you back in the future on one of our webinars there as a panel as well.
It would be my absolute pleasure to return, and thank you again. Thank you to the NOF.
Yes, you have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. So thank you, folks. Look at that. Another absolutely fabulous episode of Protecting the Vision. We had a guest speaker, Dr. Dana Shannon, sharing with us about myopia management. And boy, did she drop some nuggets on us tonight. Thank you so much, Dr. Shannon, for sharing your knowledge and sharing your time with us as we try to educate the public on various topics. And stay tuned. Next month, we'll have another guest speaker with us sharing on a different topic as well. The National Optometric Foundation will continue to do these webinars to help educate the public. We're a nonprofit organization, and it is our goal to be the financial arm support there for the National Optometric Association. Learn more about us, find out about the officers on our website, www.nationaloptometricfoundation.com. You can see some of our pictures on there. We also have a Facebook page, National Optometric Foundation. And we have a YouTube channel. This webinar will be on there as well as the previous webinars that we've been doing over the course of 2 years on our YouTube channel, National Optometric Foundation. If you would like to contribute, we do have a Cash App, $ Protecting the Vision. You can send us a donation, big or small, write it off on your taxes. We appreciate it all. And also, Dr. Whitehead and the board would also welcome you. If you would like to be a part of the National Optometric Foundation, we welcome you with open arms. Send me a message and we'll be glad to set up a time for you to talk with Dr. Whitehead, and we will give you the steps needed to become a member of the National Optometric Foundation. We appreciate you guys for listening in. Thank you to our sponsors, our donors. Thank you to the National Optometric Association. Remember, convention is coming up in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, July the 11th through the 14th. Continue to help us do the great things that we're doing in the community as we continue to highlight the Achieve campaign and also the 3 silent killers of your vision: diabetes, diabetic retinopathy, and hypertensive retinopathy. Guys, we are going to continue to do this for our community. We love you. We appreciate you. This is Dr. Timothy Brown, treasurer for the National Optometric Foundation, and I'm signing off. Thank you, guys.